Right, a few weeks ago, Luca Black was lined up to speak about Manchester United's ongoing war of attrition with their own supporters. As a rep on the fans forum and advisory board, he was well placed to lend expertise. Unfortunately, the silly sausage slept in with jet lag, and he then decided the club wasn't on the same page, let alone the same time zone, and quit both posts. So he's here now to explain why, and Pete's with us too. Right, so Luca, let me know if you need a beta blocker or anything like that. But like, you started the Youth Supporters Club at 14, is that right? And then joined the fans forum and the advisory board soon after. Is that right? And can you spell out the difference between those two bodies? Because it possibly plays into the politics at the minute.
So I'd never joined the fan advisory board, but I'd applied to the fan advisory board. Originally, with the fans forum, I applied to the fans forum when I was 14 years old. Got on it as soon as I turned 15. Sort of after that, gave it a couple of years and thought eventually we'll get into the details why, but I'd applied for the fan advisory board. I asked numerous times for youth representation on the fan advisory board. It was denied multiple times by the club. Applied anyways through the fans forum route and unfortunately didn't get on. Youth Supporters Club was born in 2023, the summer of 2023. I was on work experience with the club. So that was just after joining the fans forum, or a couple of years after joining the fans forum. That's the story so far.
Okay, so why did you think, at least at that point, that it was important for there to be a youth voice on there? What did you think you would add that would be different?
I think it was sort of the club's decision to have youth representation, and I feel like they felt that for a few years they hadn't had that young voice, and they were trying to make decisions on behalf of the youth supporters. So when I saw the post was up for, the position was up, I was like, right, sounds good. It's something that I think I'd enjoy. It's something where I feel like I could make a difference, especially because around that age was when I just started networking with more friends, sort of my age. We were going to, meet up and stuff like that. And that was kind of a first for me. So I felt that I had that kind of in route with other young fans who, when we went to grab food or whatever, drinks, we'd speak about kind of issues around the club and how it could be made better for us. And so it was just felt like the perfect fit. If I could try and make a difference, then that's what I wanted to do.
So young fans and away games generally mix really well, right? There was a time when fan reps were making a noticeable difference. Away ticket distribution would jump to mind, and sorting things out for individuals as well that was probably far less newsworthy. What's changed now?
I think really we've seen a big shift in how the club have approached engaging with fans. I think at one point we had it so we could, go to the club and they would try their hardest to action everything that we were coming to them about. Richard Arnold, especially, it was getting a bit better, not perfect. Obviously, don't have a misconception there. It was far from perfect, but we were making progress along the way. Since Ineos came in and we had it, Omar came in and he never sat down with us other than I think once actually he sat down for 10 minutes and answered I think two questions and left the room. And so from then on, it was more like a two-tier system between the fan advisory board and the fans forum. It felt like all of the things we could speak to Richard Arnold, the previous CEO, about was kind of stripped away, and that was for fan advisory board now. And the fans forum are kind of left feeling disengaged. I don't think they cared as much about the fans forum because any bigger issues we were basically speaking through a middleman constantly because they couldn't ever go away from that meeting or join the meeting and say we can action that unless it's something a lot smaller that's not as impactful.
So is this mainly down to cuts that people are not there to do it, or is it a regime that's ignorant or even more malevolent than some people think?
I think there's quite a mix, really. Believe that redundancies played a huge part in sort of stripping away the soul of the club that we had there in place. We lost a lot of Manchester United fans who worked at the club over the last few years, which is a massive shame. And I think speaking to others who run supporters clubs, especially, kind of hear from them that we don't really know who to talk to if we want certain things done as much anymore. And the proactiveness has almost gone completely. I used to, when I set up the Youth Supporters Club, have meetings with club employees about what initiatives we can do, how to grow, collaborations we can do on social media to help us grow all the time, almost bi-weekly at one point. And that completely disappeared. Everyone was kind of fearing for their jobs. And I think the other side to that is that the club became a lot more, the power kind of shifted higher up the chain again. And so the decisions weren't down to the employees that sat on the fans forum anymore. They were down to, for me, it feels like they're more down to Omar Berrada and the owners.
Right. So I'll come to Pete in a second, but this has meant ultimately in the last week, you've taken a pretty drastic decision to stand down. You're the first person to stand down, I think, midterm on any of those bodies. So is it dead, this idea of fan representation or people getting things done as it stands?
I don't think it's dead. And I said the same the other day that when I've been asked the question, I've been asked it many times as to, what do you think? Do you think the fans forum should still be a thing? Do you think Fab should still be a thing? And always the answer is, I don't know. I don't think anyone knows what the right or wrong thing to do is. We could debate back and forth all day about what's the right strategy to go with. I think I respect anyone that's on there still giving their time, effort, and energy for absolutely free, trying to just get the best for fans. I just didn't feel like it was worth me putting 100% effort and energy into something that was giving me a negative return back. I think being there for so long and seeing so many different changes in the employees sat at the head of the room was definitely a big part in the reason I've left now, because at one point I saw it improving and getting better and us being listened to. And then I saw it stripped away and everything from that point where I felt like the impact I'd made in the first kind of couple years with pricing for youth tickets, youth season tickets, all of that was kind of stripped away. And then even the smaller things like European away collections, at one point that was never even debated on whether it was going to be taken away or not. The next thing you know, it's just taken away from out of nowhere. And so to fight so hard to get that back, it's just draining.
And so your resignation letter was, I think, what most people would say is really balanced above all else. Because you're what age now?
I just turned 20.
I mean, I don't know if I'd have had the maturity to do it. You'd like to think so. What did you think, Pete? It was an impressive missive, really.
It was, yeah, yeah, yeah. Without wanting to embarrass Luca, it was very well put, and I always think you should do things constructively. If protesting is fine, but you got to make sure you're not a dog barking at airplanes. And Luca made sure he got the relevant points across constructively, professionally, I'd say, but also with meaning. You really felt he meant it. He'd gone through it. His frustration was genuine and powerful. I'd have marked it 10 out of 10.
But you talked in there about wanting to affect change elsewhere. So how's that going to come about, Luca?
I think through the Youth Supporters Club, it's been incredibly refreshing. I go on nights out and I'll have people come up to me or people speak to me and we speak about Manchester United, obviously, as you do. And they'll go, oh, I've heard of you and I've heard of the Youth Supporters Club and, oh, I've got a youth season ticket through stuff that you did. I think that's one of the things that it fills me with joy, to be honest with you, to know that you've made an impact on someone else. And even just helping people with, suspensions and, tickets and stuff like that is always really rewarding, I think. And so I just feel that if I can put in the energy that I've been putting into the forum over the last few years into the Youth Supporters Club, because if we're being honest, the last 12 months has been slower. We've had a lot of our committee have gone off to university and, moved all around the country and stuff like that. So it's been slower the last 12 months than the previous sort of 24 before that. But I want to put it back in and sort of keep going with it and see what new initiatives we can come up with. And the other really big thing that we're working on is something called the Youth Roadmap, which I put in the letter. I feel like it's kind of one of the last opportunities we'll have to see really if we can make a change in the club. And essentially, it's just going to be the moment we're early days of it. So we're just thinking, what kind of surveys can we get out to people and sort of gauge opinions and ideas on different things. And eventually we want to get to the point where we've got a list of powerful policy changes, those policy changes, sort of proposed initiatives that would combine together to sort of get the youth support and Manchester United back on track.
So supporters young and old then, what do you think people can do in a practical sense?
Good
Because
question.
people are really angry with the club, and it's not like that's the first time that's happened. But it's really wound people up just when there was some positivity. That it seems to be a really silly thing to do.
Yeah, no, you're bang on. It's definitely very silly from the club side of things. I think what can people do? For me, I genuinely believe the most important thing that everyone can do right now is just try to be united. You know, it's in our name, Manchester United, and I think that when we're together as one, we're so much more powerful. And we've seen it with the kind of unity between TRA, 1958, most youth supporters club, and even hundreds of other supporters clubs as well, fans forum reps. When we all get on the same page, even if we don't all agree on the same strategy, when we're all on that same page together, we can actually make a difference. We can put pressure on the club. And I think, as I said before, you genuinely could argue back and forth with anyone. We all have our different opinions and different ideas about what to do, whether to completely disengage, whether some people should engage and some people should protest. What kind of protest do we do? Most important thing for me is just get behind one another and just back each other, even if there's things you disagree with. We're all Manchester United.
Yeah, I feel, Pete, that we can remember times when supporter engagement's been worse and even non-existent, but maybe not when it's been needed quite so clearly.
Yeah, definitely. You know, sometimes when you're in a battle like this, Luca, you've got to look. I always think it's best to try and understand the enemy. It shouldn't be the enemy, the people we're talking about. Like Jim Ratcliffe and his colleagues. You've got to try and understand why have they done what they're doing. It strikes me, and I've no inside knowledge at all, not at all. I'm more lone wolf than joining in with the crowd in that sense. But from a political point of view, I think it surprised Ratcliffe genuinely when he came in that the club was either losing more money than it should, this was being reported. No, that sounds as if they're doing something illegal. I think he was surprised by how much money was being wasted. And what he decided to do was make cuts right away. You can't do cuts in a business by evolution. But he can, but it's usually done by revolution. And it strikes me he's gone for snatches, him and his team. So they've snatched the seats that the South Stand ticket holders had, so they could give them people who want to pay several £100s to sit around the dugout. They did that very ruthlessly last 12 months ago. And the stuff they've done now trying to investigate touting has just been amateurish. But again, done too soon. And they've kind of admitted that with their response saying, look, we didn't quite understand all this was going on. Well, that shows crass naivety. Because people will do the best. You and fans will do the best to get tickets to see United. It's not all about touting, So basically what I'm saying in a nutshell is they've acted fast. And when you act fast like that, and it is revolution, the status quo doesn't carry on very well. I'd say stick with it, not just to Luca, but anybody who wants to stick with talking to the club, because I think we'll move into a period more of evolution than revolution. And as Churchill, I think, once said, war is better than war. There's a lot of good things being done, as you quite rightly point out, Luke. Why seeing the threat for them from my seat at the other end of the ground every home match warms my heart, because that has brought back the atmosphere that was there when I started going in the early 60s, through the 70s, 80s, well, all through. That noise is there, the passion is there, but it's not just manufactured, it's raw. People behave themselves generally, that's good. It's passionate, that's the thing. And that ground now is far better than it was five years ago in terms of atmosphere. And I think the team are on the cusp of something. We don't want to be always battling with the club, especially when we think the team is on the edge of winning something. I think United could certainly come close to the title next season. And as you said, Luca, we've just got to get behind them and suck some of this up, but we don't have to like it.
Can they do it with current squad, both here? Go for you first, Pete, as you're on a roll. You think that they're potential title contenders? Most of the transfer virgins who forcing their way onto my feed since Musk took over the internet seems to think United are hopeless, and they've got incredible expertise because they've got computers.
Yes, they have, and fingertips. I think some of the signings we've made in the last 3 years are coming to fruition. I remember I went to a friendly at Glasgow Rangers 2 years ago, and I loved what I saw from Yoro and a few of the other young lads that were brought in. I liked what I saw with Heaven, so they got injured only about 6 games in. I think those lads are good. I think there's more youngsters coming through, but they alone can't win you the title right away. I just think United's got a very, very strong squad with some real stars in it. And we've got a manager who knows about playing the United way. He didn't get every game right after he took over last year. Newcastle away and Leeds at home, we went back with almost Amarish. But I think he knows the way you've got to play the way United should play, which is on the front foot, going forward with power and pace. And I think that's what we'll see this season.
Luca, are you as confident as Pete is?
I wish I was, Pete. I'm really sorry, but I think we're still a good few signings off it, to be honest with you. I mean, gosh, I barely remember the last time we won the league. I remember bits from it. But no, I think we are a few signings off it. Definitely need some strengthening in areas. But then again, last season it was quite open in the end. I didn't think Arsenal were worthy of winning the league. But then again, who was? Not really anyone. So it's possible that this season's going to be open again, and you never know.
How diplomatic to end on. No, go on.
Also, just quickly, didn't outline my view of the positives of United, but each of the contenders now is just at a slight more disadvantage than last season. City have lost Pep. Liverpool have lost the fellow that succeeded Klopp. I think Arsenal, I don't think they'll deliberately focus on, but I think when it gets to March or April, or go for the Champions League this time, I don't think they'll throw the league away or anything like that. They're there. Chelsea is just about throwing 200 darts at the board and hoping you hit the bullseye. They might hit the bullseye, they might not. So I think the opposition are a bit weaker, but not weak, but weaker, and that we'll just come through. But I've been wrong before, Vance.
Pete, Sky Sports have a supercomputer that put, I think. Arsenal to retain the title, City second, Liverpool third, and United fourth. And it had, I think, Tottenham fifth or something like that. And it went something like Chelsea Villa from, I got a snapshot of it. Do you think that Sky Sports computer's a lot of old Tommy rot?
I don't believe a computer can predict the league table for the next 12 months.
I'll remind you, it's a supercomputer, Pete.
You didn't mention that, right? Okay. No, I don't think they can predict the league title from this far in advance. They can do it when it's the last 10 games or whatever. That'll have some stuff in it, but I'm not sure what they put into their supercomputer. But no, for once now, back Pete, don't back the supercomputer.
Luca, who's your favourite? Who's your money going on to finish with?
I think Arsenal will win the league.
Yeah. God, I think there'll be miles more scrutiny on this time, but I'm really not intrigued, to see how City and Liverpool go on. I'm praying that we don't have to hope that City win again, so Liverpool can. All right, no sponsor this week because we're hoping to form a breakaway podcast under the auspices of UEFA. We'd love to get your views, offers of cash, articles for Substack. Just email creamofmanchester1878@gmail.com. Thanks to Pete and to Luca. Mind the trams.